The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Twain. Longman Simplified English Series. Read by Siriya Boonlert. Chapter 10 Pirates. Tom's mind was made uptown. He was dreamy and this period he was a lonely, friendless boy. He thought when they found out what they had driven him to, perhaps they would be sorry. Nothing would please them but to get rid of him. Let it be so, and let them blame him for the result. Yes, they had forced him to it at last. He would lead a life of crime. There was no choice. By this time he was far away from school and the bell for lessons came faintly to his ear. The tears came into his eyes as he thought that he would never hear that old familiar sound again. Just at this point he met his best friend Joe Harper, who had evidently a great and mournful purpose in his heart. Tom, wiping his eyes with his sleeve, began to moan something about his determination to escape from lack of sympathy at home by wandering into the great world, never to return. He ended by hoping that Joe would not forget him. But it appeared that Joe had also made up his mind to run away from home. He had been searching for Tom to give him this important piece of information. His mother had whipped him for drinking some cream which he had not tasted and which he knew nothing about. It was plain that she was tired of him and wished him to go. As the two boys walked slowly along the shore to stand by each other and to be brothers till death relieved them of their trouble, then they began to lay their plans. Joe wanted to be a holy man and live on beast of breath in a cave and die at last of cold want and give. But after listening to Tom, he agreed that there were some outstanding advantage about a life of crime, and so he consented to be a pirate. He might build St. Petersburg at a point where the Mississippi River was about a mile wide. There was a long, narrow wood island with a shallow sandbar at the head of it. This island would be a suitable meeting place. It was not inhabited and lay for ever towards the farther bank, facing a thick forest. So Jackson's Island was chosen. Then they searched for Huckleberry Finch, and he joined them directly, for all processions were the same to him. They arranged to meet at a lonely spot on the river bank 2 miles above the village. At the favorite hour, midnight, there was a small log raft which they intend to capture. It would bring hooks and fishing lines and shoot food as he could, still in the dark and mysterious way of the two pirates. During the afternoon, they told everyone that soon the town would hear something startling. All who got this vague news were warned to keep it a secret and wait. About midnight, Tom arrived with some meat and a few trophies and stopped in the thick bushes on a steep slope overlooking the meeting place. He gave a low whistle. It was answered from the foot of the slope. Tom whistled twice more. This signal was answered in the same way. Who goes there? Said a French voice. Tom Sawyer, the back adventure of the Spanish seas. Give me your names. Huckfin, the Red Hand, and Joe Harper, the Toro of the Oceans. Tom had provided these titles from his favorite literature. Give the password to whisper deliver the same awful word at the same time to the village knight. Then Tom rolled his meat down and slope and let himself down after it, tearing both skin and clothes in a force. There was an easy, comfortable path along the bank at the foot of the slope, but Tom knew that a real pirate preferred difficulty and danger to ease and comfort. The Toro of the Oceans had brought a big bag full of loaves and had tried himself out carrying it there since the Red Hand had stolen a frying pan and a quantity of tobacco. The back adventures of the Spanish seas said that they could not start without some fire. That was a wise thought, for messages were hardly known that in those days. They saw a fire upon a great laugh 100 yards above, and they went ahead themselves to a glowing piece of wood. They made an exciting adventure of it, saying "shh" every now and then, suddenly stopping with finger on lip, moving with hands on imaginary knife, and giving orders in furious whispers. They knew that the raftsmen were all down at the village, but that did not matter. They had to steal or fire in the right piratical way. They pushed off, presenting Tom in command, Huck at the after oar and Joe at the forward. Tom, with a gloomy face and folded arms, gave his orders in a low, stern whisper. Bring her to the wind. Aye, aye, sir. Steering steady. Steering is, sir. What sails is she crying? Mainsail, sir. Send the topsails up. Luff it down. Aye, aye, sir. As the boy steadily and uneventfully drove the raft towards Miss Dry River, and was no doubt understood that these orders were given only for style and were not intended to mean anything in particular. Harry Alvarez was said during the next 3/4 of an hour. Now the laugh was passing the few glimmering lights of the distant village. The back avenger stood still with folded arms, taking a last look at the scenes of his former joys and rather sufferings. He wished that those whom he had left forever could see him now on the stormy sea, facing hardship and death with a courageous heart. The other pirates were taking a last look too. They looked so long that they nearly fought past the islands, but they discovered the danger in time, and at about 2 o'clock in the morning, the raft stuck on the sandbar. They walked backwards and forwards through the shower of water until they had land. They surprised they had found an old saw on the latter raft, and this they spread over some brush as a tent to shelter their foot. They themselves would sleep in the open air in fine weather as pirates chose. Built a fire in a wood, cooked some meat at the frying pan, and had it for supper with some of the loaf. It seemed glorious fun to be feeding in that wild, free way, far from civilizations. The fire lit up their faces and the tree trunks around. After supper, they stretched themselves out on the grass, filled with a contentment. Isn't it jolly? Said Joe. It's grand, said Tom. I don't want anything better than this, said Huckleberry. I don't get enough to eat usually, and here people can't come and kick and worry me. Huckleberry now filled his pipe with tobacco, pressed a going coal to it, and blew out a cloud of sweet smelling smoke. The other pirates invited him this depressive vice and secretly determined to adopt it soon. What do pirates do? Asked Huck. Oh, they have a fine time, said Tom. They take ships and burn them and get the money and bury it in awful place in the day Iceland where they are ghosts towards it and kill everybody in the ships, and they were in love with coast all gold and silver and diamonds, said Joe. I don't think I'm properly dressed for a pirate, said Huck, regarding his own clothes sadly. But these are the only ones I have got. But the other boys told him that the fire coast would come fast enough after they had begun their adventure. Gradually, their talk died out and sleepiness began to steal upon the eyelids of the adventurers. The pipe dropped from the fingers of the red hand the toll of the oceans and the back eraser had more difficulty in getting to sleep. They said their prayers, science, and writing down science. There was nobody there with authority to make them kneel and say them aloud as they were about to fall asleep, and unwelcome visitor crept up and could not be driven away. It was conscience. They began to feel awake, for that it was wrong to run away from home. Next they thought of the stolen meat and bread. They tried to argue it away by reminding conscience that they had taken sweet and cake and apples without provisions dozens of times, but conscience would not accept such a thin argument. In the end, they were forced to admit that running off with cakes was only taking, while running off with meat and loaf of bread was plain, simply stealing, and there was a comment against that in the Bible. So in their hearts they resolved that as long as they were pirates, they would have nothing to do with the crime of stealing. Conscience was satisfied, and these old pirates fell peacefully asleep.